Folks, folks, we live in such strange times, don't we? Don't we just live in such strange times? Oh my gosh, let me tell you. Oh, sure you know what this is about. But yesterday, it was announced that Mr. Alzheimer's man, Mr. Dementia Alzheimer's man, Joe Biden, is going to be the next, well, projected to be the winner. Let's just say that he's projected to be the winner. Now, mind you, this was such a strange race in such a strange year with so much chaos and strangeness happening this year. I mean, think about it. Think how crazy this year's been. You got a man who's so old, he has Alzheimer's and dementia. He confuses, his own family members, like his granddaughter with like his son or something, and he can't form these coherent sentences and all that crazy stuff. I'm sure you've seen the videos of. Then you have another man who does spray on tans, who had a reality TV show, who's not a politician. How could things get any stranger? Okay, how could things get any stranger? Oh my gosh, I'm just laughing because it all seems like such a movie. I mean, think about it. I mean, take a step back and realize we're like approaching the end of like a movie here. It's like if you're watching this drama movie, this chaotic drama movie, and we're approaching the end, it's getting to the end of the movie, and there's a whole bunch of like twists and turns, like, oh, what's gonna happen, When you view it like that, you just begin to laugh, with it's like everything is going a certain way for a certain reason. It's like the script has already been written and we're already following down that path, if that makes sense. Now, when it comes to my own personal views and opinions on this, I understand why people, same thing 4 years ago, people hated both the candidates. People don't like either one. And I get it, because people who are these presidents, these politicians, all these people who run for office. Now, mind you, Trump is not a politician, so that does make him a little different there, okay? That's not try to rope him in with all of the politicians, but he has his own sort of thing, okay? So politicians, I think, pretty much by itself, are extremely corrupt. Differently than a Trump is, obviously, because he's not a politician. He has his own different forms of corruption, okay? I'm not saying he's not corrupt, he has different forms, okay? So, they all lie, they all cheat, they all steal, they all are narcissistic, every single one, okay? You cannot deny that fact. That's just how it is. That's just how the game is run. That's just how things are. We have to accept that. We have to kind of look past that. If you want to vote for someone, you got to look past that. You got to accept that is how they are. Okay, but here's the thing. We're talking about here kind of what is the end game over the next few years with this whole virus situation, okay? Of locking down the economy, destroying people's lives, destroying people's businesses, masking them to detach them, socially distance them, and everything. And the two candidates have been very vocal in different ways, as we know. I mean, even though that stuff still happened here in the U.S., Trump said he didn't want to have a second lockdown. He didn't want, the mask mandates, and he didn't want, vaccines to be forced. Joe Biden, on the other hand, has said the opposite of that. So if there's one thing that they say, not necessarily that it's true, but based on what they say, I don't want to go through a second lockdown. That would destroy the economy even more. I don't want to be force masked and vaccinated. Okay, but again, that all comes down to the state. The president really has no say. So honestly, they can both say whatever they want. I want universal mask mandate. I don't want a universal mask mandate. It doesn't matter. It comes down to the state. Plain and simple. Okay? Your state has a mask mandate. This state doesn't. It doesn't matter what the president thinks. So honestly, I think that's just a big talking point. It really doesn't do anything. It really doesn't go anywhere. You got to remember that. But when it comes to it personally, I believe that no, things should not be locked down. People should be back at work. People should be back at school. That's just my take on it. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but in my reality, that is what I would choose there. So here's the interesting thing, and I've talked about this before. This is all about this whole election. Pretty much was just about Trump. That's all that it was. It was either you love him, you want him for another 4 years, or you hate him and you want him out of office. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden at all. I think we know that. Most of Joe Biden's supporters, let me back up. Most people who voted for Joe Biden, I should say, not his supporters, but people who voted for him, are voting for him simply because they hate Trump. That's it. That's pretty much the only reason. They don't like Biden. But guess what? It's like, all right, I just hate this. I hate the orange man so much that I'm going to vote for the other team, even though I hate them too. It's like, I hate this one less. I'm going to vote for that one. Okay. We've talked about that before, and why I think you should, if you're going to vote or do something, you should do it based on what you like, not what you hate. Because if you hate this and you're still voting for it, that makes no sense to me, personally. So, honestly, I think it's so like bad. Because it's like, imagine like how he would feel then. Again, I'm just kind of thinking about his emotion, Biden's emotion. It's like, oh, all these people who voted for me, we did it, we made history, all these people. Even though no one showed up to his rallies, we had like 5 people in circles. When you see Trump's crowd, thousands and tens of thousands. It is weird. It's very weird. I mean, think about it. How could he be the most popular person ever? I think he got the most votes of any single presidential candidate. Won all these states suddenly, just Tuesday night. The winner was very clear, and then suddenly, the next morning, a bunch of votes come in overnight, hundreds of thousands just for Mr. Alzheimer's himself. So honestly, I've seen a lot of reports of a variety of different things, a lot of suspicious activity, a lot of strangeness happening. So here's what I will say at the end of this. Okay, ultimately, I think the truth will come out on whatever the case is. These things are not finalized yet, okay? The results are not finalized yet. So if you're a Biden supporter and you're getting all happy and excited, or you're a Trump hater and you're getting all happy and excited, because I know there's plenty of people who watch me who are, and there's plenty of people who watch me who are on the other side. I have friends that are Trump haters and Trump supporters, okay? It doesn't matter to me, okay? I am open to being friends with anyone, okay? But I would not get your hopes up if you're a Biden supporter or a Trump hater, and I would not lose hope if you're a Trump lover and Trump supporter, because things are not finalized yet, and there's a lot of things that are actually, a lot of lawsuits that are being put forward in certain states because they improperly counted votes that were given past the deadline. There were software glitches where they would switch over to the other candidate in favor of Joe Biden, of course. Just the whole suspiciousness of like 5 different states, like, oh, they were all red, but now suddenly they're all blue over the course of the, you go to sleep, they're all red. He's got this. Trump's going to win this. Wake up the next morning, oh, they're all blue. What happened? What happened? So there's a lot of suspicious activity going on here, and it is personally, and I think a lot of people, and just think about this. It's so hard to believe that a man who could hardly get anyone to show up to his rallies, like 10 people in little circles, is like the most popular man ever. Again, that's just weird. I'm not saying that it's not a legitimate thing. Whatever happened, if it is legitimate, fine, but it's odd. It's really odd. And then also, if you take a look at like the Senate and the House, they actually lost a lot of Democrats, and a lot of Republicans won some of those seats. Again, has that ever happened before? I'm sure that it has, but it's just interesting because it's like, well, that means people voted Republican a lot more than Democrat, but for the president, they voted more Democrat. So, I don't know, but I would say is that this is not finalized yet. This is not done. Trump is not conceding. He's not going to back down. He's going to fight this as hard as he can, and hey, do whatever you need to do. I don't know if that will change anything. It may not, but here's what I'm thinking, okay? If we look at this like a movie, let's take a step back from your own personal opinion and personal viewpoint. This is what I'm doing here. I'm taking a step back based on what I believe and whatever. If you look at this like a movie, and you're seeing that the end goal is to divide people more and to cause chaos, what is the best way to cause chaos here? To have Trump back in office, right? If he goes back in office, then the people who are on the left, people who hate him, rioting and looting. But I don't really see any rioting and looting from the people on the right, okay? Right, at least of right now, okay? But if Trump won that night, or he was declared the projected winner, there would be rioting and looting. There'd be so much hatred towards him, like, oh, I can't stand this man, But that is one scenario that could happen here. Imagine, like right now, you give all of those Trump haters this confidence, like, Biden's got this. He's won. I feel so relieved. No more orange man in office. Finally, things are going to be so nice in this country. And it's like, really, you think things are going to change? I don't think things are going to change, to be honest with you. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. But imagine a scenario where they give these people who are on the left, these Trump haters, these Biden supporters, whatever it is, this false sense of security that Biden's going to win, and then suddenly all these lawsuits go through, they recount and realize, wait a minute, we prematurely projected this winner here. It's actually not going to be Biden. It's going to be Trump. Wouldn't you say then, you, watching this, wouldn't you say that would cause way more chaos than if just Trump just won outright that night or a few days? That's why it drug out as long as it did, and that's why things are happening here with these lawsuits, because if it changes over to him, people are going to be so mad, way worse mad, because they got to experience a lot of this happiness. Like, yes, we're finally get him out. And then he comes back in, and it's like way worse. They have this anger way worse to a degree. And then he will be blamed for stealing the election for the next 4 years. And then that whole investigation will not come to anything. And it's like, okay, well, if he's remember he's talked a lot about voter fraud. Okay, he's talked a lot about that. And then if he is investigated for stealing the election, that would mean, guess what? That would mean fraud. They were just proving his point right there. So honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, I can't project it, but I will say this: if that scenario that I just told you were to happen, be even more prepared, because if you thought things were crazy if he just won, that night or within a few days, imagine the chaos if they give these people who hate him a false sense of security, and then they switch it. That's going to be way worse. It's going to be way worse. And I think that may be what the outcome is going to be. Because honestly, when you really look at it, when you compare the people, the people on the left, people on the right, the people on the left seem to be much more emotional and easily controlled and manipulated. Whereas the people on the right seem to be more, I guess, resilient, or just, they're not as you know, all the riots that happen are usually from the people on the left. And then right now, there's really, that I'm aware of, you can bring it to my attention if you want, I've not seen any riots on the right from Trump losing. I've not seen that. Now, I have seen protests called Stop the Steal protests, because a lot of Republicans are stepping up and saying, this is a stolen election here. There's a lot of fraudulent activity here, and Biden's trying to sweep in and win this here, and he's stealing it. That is what they're saying. So I've not seen any violence though. I've not heard of any violence. But then again, I don't really watch a lot of that stuff. I mean, I've heard of it. I've seen a few things, but it's not like I sit and watch every single protest. It's not possible. I don't know. I've not seen any sort of remarks though. But this whole thing is just so confusing. So if you thought 2020 was crazy, just again, be prepared. You got 2 more months left. It's going to get crazier. It's going to get crazier. Let me recommend to you so you can see how crazy this actually is. I recommend to you this video. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy, but I watched this and I'm just like, he hit the nail on the head. It's so funny. It's so accurate. But it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Here he is. Have you seen him? Have you seen him? So, Awakening with JP. Biden won. Here's what you need to know. Honestly, he gives a bunch of funny scenarios of what could happen. You know, like, he's like, Biden's your next president. Well, unless, he's like, unless, and then he goes into all this and that, and then it's like, he goes back and forth. Stop the video now if you have not seen it and watch this before I continue to say stuff, because there's another part, you know, he's like, and then, you know, if Biden is, you know, once Biden becomes your president, you know, what if he dies or he's removed from office, then Kamala Harris will be your will be the next president of the United States. And then, this is the best one, but what if they tie? What if they tie? Well then, like the Senate chooses the president and the House chooses the vice president or something along those lines. And then he says, he's like, they would choose Biden as your president and they would choose Trump as your vice president. Imagine that. Imagine that scenario. That's if they tie. Imagine that scenario. That I would really like to see. That would be so funny. It would be so funny. Like, it's like, Joe, you're not good at this. Step down. I'll take the lead. And, oh, and then Biden would be like, oh. He'll be yelling, you can't. You lost this, man. Come on, man. Oh gosh. And then there's another scenario where if the votes are not finalized, by Inauguration Day in January, I mean, like, he's talking about, look, if the votes are not finalized, he's like, Nancy Pelosi will be your president. And he's like, well, and then he's like, unless, but, all that stuff's going on. Like, and then Nancy Pelosi, he's like, and Nancy Pelosi will be your president. Honestly, I'm just saying, this isn't over yet. So if you think it's over, it's not over. It's not over. There is bound to be craziness. I say, just take a step back from your emotions and whatever you think and just watch this craziness unfold. This is going to be insane. You want to know what my real thoughts are, or what's really going to happen? Let me show you my real thoughts. This is what I really think is going to happen. This is what I... Oh. Kanye 538, see? He's got this. Biden 0, Trump 0. This is the true victor right here. He's been suppressed. His voters have been suppressed. I found that image online. It was just too funny to just pass by here. I had to put it in here. That was it. Let me know your thoughts. Honestly, I'm just sitting back and watching. This is just too funny. This whole thing is just too funny. Check out that video that I mentioned. That video is hilarious as well. It's like, but what if this happens? What if that happens? Yeah, but no, what if that happen? That happened. Because honestly, it's just crazy. I just don't even know. What will happen? I don't know. Anyway, y'all take care. Have a great one. Bye.